What's up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about curried functions. And in the process of learning curried functions, we'll discover a little bit more about higher order functions as well as closures. Also, today in the studio, we have a guest. Do you want to introduce yourself? Hmm. So let's get started. So I'm going to start with a very basic example of calculating discount for a given price. The formula for calculating discount price is very simple. We have discount price is equal to given price minus price multiplied by discount rate. So this is the formula for calculating price. To get started, I have some boilerplate code written already. So I have something called as get price list with some basic list of price. I'll get to this in a moment. I have some record class created here called price, which is just a wrapper around the big decimal. And I have something called discount rate, also another wrapper around big decimal. Big decimal is normally used for making precise arithmetic calculations, especially when it comes to monetary value. So let's get started with our example of calculating a discount price. So now let's say we have a function here, private function, which returns a price, a discounted price. Let's call this discounted price, and then which accepts a discount rate. Let's call this rate here, and then a price. So the formula for this is very simple. We have this rate, apply this, we multiply this rate with the price dot value, and then we dot subtract this, and then this gives us, you can see here, a big decimal. So we can wrap this around in price. Let's say return new price. So we have now built a simple method to calculate discounted price. Let's start to use this. Let's create a new discounted rate. Yeah, this one. So let's say here a rate is equal to new discount rate, new big decimal, and we can say here some value like 0.12, which is equivalent to 12%. Let's say here. So now let's use this price list and apply this discount rate. So it's very simple. We can just say here price list stream dot map each of this price, and we can call this function discounted discount price. It has to be static because we operate in static context. And then we pass in the rate. We have prepared a new rate here, and then it accepts a price. So we can collect this to a list, and then we get here a list of price, discounted price, and then we can also print this discounted price dot for each system out printer then. Right. So now let's run this. Okay. So we see the result of applying the discount of 12% to all of this price list. Now let's implement this slightly differently using curried function. So let's take a look at the definition of currying. Currying is a process of transforming a function that takes in multiple arguments in a tuple of its argument into a function that just takes a single argument and returns another function. So this is an example of curried function which takes in a value and returns a function. This is a curried form of this. So this takes in two values and returns another value. So this is exactly what we have here, two values, and we are returning a value. Now let's build our curried function. Private return type static, time type will be null. It's very easy to transform this. We accept discount rate, and then we give a function which accepts a price and then returns a price. This is how we relate this, accepts a discount rate and accepts a price, and then the return type goes here in the end. So we call this here uh, discount price function. Let's call this discount price function. So what do we do with this? So we have to return here, accept the rate that's passed in, and then we have to return a function, remember? So we have to uh, take in price, that is this one, and then here we apply price dot value dot multiply this rate dot value, and then we get this price dot value subtract. So this gives us a big decimal. All right. So what we have done is just applied the same discount calculation, price dot value, subtract this price dot value, multiply this rate, and then we can return here new price. So that's it. So if you see here, the return type of this is actually a function which accepts a discount rate and returns a function which takes in a price and then calculates this price dot value, subtract price dot value, and multiply this rate and return this as a new function. Let me format this one first so that it's a bit more clear. Let's use our newly created function and see how this works. So I'm going to call discount rate function. Discount rate function, when it's called, you can see the return type is actually a function which accepts discount rate and returns a function. So when I call this function, I can quickly check here. The return type is a function which takes in a discount rate. So I have a function which takes in a discount rate. So now let's apply this rate. If I apply this rate, I should get function which accepts a price and returns a price as the return type. So you can quickly verify this. Its function takes in a price and returns a price. So now let's call this function which takes in a price and returns a price. This is discount price function. So this is also called partially applied function. That's because we have applied the function partially. I don't understand. Why do you need this? As you can see here in the previous example, we repeatedly passed in rate for each price. But in this case, we created a partially applied function and we can apply this function over again and again to a list of values, list of price. It seamlessly integrates with map function and our code looks much more elegant. So we just learned how we could apply curried function. We will extend this example to learn another new concept. Let's dive in. So if you notice here, we have a discount rate, which is like a constant, which is not really changing. So that's why maybe we can extract this to discount rate and make this even static final. So now we have a discount rate, which is like static final. Let's write a new function here. This function accepts a price and returns a price. Let's import this. So let's call this get default or apply default discount. So what this does is returns, it takes in a price and then applies price dot value dot subtract using the same formula for calculating discount, price dot value dot multiply this rate here. We have a default rate already we can multiply this rate. So rate dot value. So this gives us actually a big decimal. We can wrap this around with price like this. Call it new. Then yeah, you're already returning it. So what this function does is accepts a price using the same formula like before. We're going to get price dot value, subtract price dot value dot multiply this rate. So we have a discounted rate here, and we are going to subtract that with the given price. So now we can go ahead and use this apply default discount in our discount calculator. So instead of this here, we can just say apply default discount. We can just say here dot apply default discount. This one should be public static. Apply default discount. So it works. So we can even remove this piece of line here. So now just run this. So we get same values as before. There's no change here. So what we have just learned is this is an example of closure. So let me write it down here. Closure. What it means is that the lambda function here is not only dependent on the passed in argument, but also depends on the values from within the enclosing scope. So in this case, we have a final discount rate within this class defined. So we are using this rate here for calculating the default discount. So far we have price list and we have applied discount, we have printed. So now let's say we are printing these values, but not really in a proper formatted way. How can we format this properly in order to be in a very readable structure? So let's apply format string function. So as you can see here, this apply default returns a function. So what if I could pass this function around? This returns a function. Could I pass this function around? Pretty good. So let's see how we can do this. Let me add here format price function, which accepts this function as a parameter, and then this returns me a string. So let's call this public. How does this work? Is function dot apply this, and then here we can say price in USD is okay, and then we apply this. This returns me price. So I just want value, and I'm gonna return this as a string. So now what I'm doing is I'm using this function that's being returned from this apply default, passing this function over to format price function, which accepts this function, applies the value to this price, and then formats this to required structure using this predefined string. So now let's use this function. So in order to use this function, all I have to do is map this price to price dot format, and have to just say here okay, and this should be changed to string. And now we have a list of price is streaming the price, applying, getting this function and formatting this in a required structure. And let's run this. So there you go. We have price in USD is 880 to 20, all in our formatted string structure. So this particular example is an example for higher order function. So we accept function as a parameter, and return a value, either value or a function. In this case, it's a very simple case where we are returning a string. So I'm applying this function and formatting this in a required structure. So we have an example of higher order function. Another very simple higher order function example is every map or flat map or filter is also an example of higher order function because this accepts a function as a parameter and returns a value. So now with a very simple example, we have found out how to apply and use current function, higher order function, and closures. This was a very simple example. You can go ahead and extend these examples to make even more complicated use cases. So by the way, what do you think about the current functions? Thank you all for watching. If you really enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate if you like and subscribe to my channel. See you soon.